Let's get ready to rumble!
Thank you so much to special guest Michael Buffer for that awesome intro. But we're here. Ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome to episode 100 of the TEW Challenge Run. We're here, Sunday, week 4, January 2021. The most fun night in the WWE calendar has arrived. The road to WrestleMania begins tonight with the 2021 Royal Rumble match. And the entire show, not just the match. But the two Rumble matches are, of course, what we're here to see. Mainly, but there is also two World Title matches, two Women's Title matches, and two Tag Team Title matches. And I'm rambling. And I'll save all the lovey-dovey, oh, it's been 100 episodes, thank you so much, bullshit, for the end. But without any further ado, let's jump straight into the show.
I'm here to rumble!
The first match on the pre-show is a 63 rated tag team match, which is bleh, but it's fine considering who's involved in it. And I forgot to put Andrade interfering here, but yeah, Zelina Vega is in the Royal Rumble, so that she can't be ringside with her boys, but Andrade can. And he helps Escobar and Scott defeat the Viking Raiders in 14-15. Escobar pins Ivar with the Phantom Driver to make defense number 1 of the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. A 60 for Scott, a 58 for Escobar, a 59 for Eric, and a 58 for Ivar. And they make the... No, I got Ivar and Eric scores mixed around. But yeah, that's it. Kickoff show, done with. The Royal Rumble is here, brothers. And we are actually opening up the show with a WWE Championship match. Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins. And the little closer for that feud that's been going on for months. In an 81 rated match, Randy Orton defeats Seth Rollins with an RKO in 1854. Randy Orton makes defense number 1 of the WWE title. No Murphy around because he's in the Rumble, of course. No Gargano. No Priest because Seth wanted to go this alone. Randy Orton gets a 92. Seth Rollins gets a 94. Match gets an 81. Bleh. Apparently these two don't have psychology. I see. So this match got a 74, which is ludicrous. And Moon against Sasha Banks. And Indy Hartwell's out there with Sasha, of course, because that's her apprentice. But Indy is... We're still very much... Like Dominik Mysterio, we're very much treating her as like a rookie. And she messes up a lot, but like it's not a... She's going to mess up, so Sasha's going to get angry and it's going to cause tension thing. It's a... I know this is a rookie, but she's got potential. So I've got to sort of like coach her and make sure she stops. So Sasha kind of expects that she's going to mess up a couple of times, and she does. But she also can be a hindrance to Ember Moon, which is why Mickie James comes out from the back. She's had a couple of choice words with Sasha Banks recently, and she comes out to even the odds to stop Indy from taking down Ember Moon. When Sasha goes for the bank statement, Ember throws her off and she knocks her down with some sort of big super kick or something. And Sasha gets to her feet as Ember goes to the top rope for the Eclipse, but then Sasha stops grabbing her ankle. She's like, ow, ref, as she collapses to the floor, feigning an injury. And the referee goes to check on Sasha Banks. He's turned his back to Ember Moon. And Ember's like, what's happened here? But all of a sudden, Mickie James smacks Ember Moon from behind with a kendo stick. And Ember collapses to the floor. And Sasha goes over to her and she turns it into a bank statement. And Ember Moon has to tap out. So Mickie James has cost Ember Moon this match here tonight. And Sasha wins back for the SmackDown Women's title in 14 minutes and 18 seconds. A 70 for Sasha and a 64 for Ember Moon. After the match, Sasha looks confused at Mickie before striking a grin and hugging Mickie and welcoming Mickie into her group. She appears to have taken the words that Sasha said to her to heart. Maybe Mickie is old, and the old Mickie James weren't cutting it anymore. This is a new Mickie James. This is the new and improved Mickie James, and she's here aligning herself with the boss. So she's sort of got like... It's sort of weird, like, looking at the generations here. Like, you've got the boss, you've got, like, obviously Indy's the apprentice, but Mickie James is sort of the older. She's the senior staff member or whatever. Cool looking group. I tried to avoid the trope of it being all black women. And I thought Mickie James fit. She was like a smug dickhead, and fills a completely different role to Indy, so it's fine. But then we get a hype segment for the first of the two 30-man matches. The Women's Royal Rumble will be the one that starts off. Everyone on the screen gives their reasons why they think they're going to win, but only one of them can. And that's the most important thing about the Royal Rumble. It's all about the numbers. The Royal Rumble.
This is what we've all been waiting with a tear in my shaking.
The goal? To be the last superstar standing. The prize? A World Championship opportunity against the champion of your choosing at the grandest stage of them all. A prize every man and woman want to claim for themselves. But to survive, the numbers mean everything. To be the last superstar standing, you must outlast 29 other hungry competitors, all with the distinct desire to throw you over the top rope, with your 2 feet hitting the floor. If that happens, your time in the Royal Rumble is history. Since its inception in 1988, there have been a total of 37 Royal Rumble matches, which have seen a whopping 1,130 superstars make their way to the ring in order to achieve victory. Of that number, only 30 different WWE superstars can actually add Royal Rumble winner to their resume, 7 of which have the distinct honour of saying they achieved this monumental feat on multiple occasions, but only one man can say he managed it on 3, that being Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, hell yeah!
For an advantage in the Royal Rumble, size will have to be on your side. Just ask the Big Red Machine Kane, who used his size to tally up a record 43 total eliminations across a record 19 Royal Rumble match appearances. Size also helped allow both Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar chalk up 13 eliminations in individual Royal Rumble matches, a record of which both men share, with the Beast Incarnate able to make the unique claim of 13 consecutive eliminations in a single match. However, some men laugh at the notion of size being an advantage, such as Rey Mysterio, whose time of 62 minutes and 12 seconds remains the all-time record for the time lasted by a Royal Rumble winner, with the overall lasting time being Daniel Bryan's 76 minutes and 5 second run in the greatest Royal Rumble. Natalya is the woman who can claim this honour, as her time of 56 minutes and 1 second in 2019 is the longest time spent in a Women's Royal Rumble match, with the longest time being spent by a winner being the 27 minutes and 19 seconds that Charlotte Flair had last year. Some people were not so lucky. The overall record is Santino Marella's, as he lasted a single second in 2009. Part of the Royal Rumble falls down to the luck of the number that you draw. And whilst number 30 may seem like the obvious favourite, only 3 times in history has it led to that superstar being victorious. That's only 1 more time than the 2 winners that have won from the very first spot. History shows that the actual number you should be hoping for is 27, as this spot has seen 4 entrants win, the most in Royal Rumble history. For the first time ever, 2 nights of WrestleMania are on the horizon for whoever wins the Royal Rumbles, increasing the winner's chance of main eventing even further. 58% of Royal Rumble winners have left WrestleMania with the championship gold, the most important number of them all. And now, the countdown begins. The road to WrestleMania starts now. Which 2 superstars will etch their names into history and advance to the grandest stage of them all? The Royal Rumble begins now. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble match. Now in this match will begin with two superstars that drew number 1 and number 2 starting in the ring at the same time. Every 90 seconds, another superstar will enter based on the numbers that they pull from the tumbler throughout the class week. Superstars are eliminated by going over the top rope with both of their feet landing on the floor. The last superstar in the ring will be declared the winner of the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble and will receive either a Raw or SmackDown Women's Championship match at WrestleMania 37.
Yeah. Let's go!
Accompanied by all of J Flow making a Royal Rumble debut in number 1, Mackie is here. And we now see why she was puffing and stamping her feet when she pulled out her number from the tumbler. Number 1, not a favourable position for her to be in her first ever Royal Rumble, but she gets to pull her full entrance off, which I guess is a pass for her. And all of J-Flow accompany her at ringside, and they're going to watch and cheer on their lead singer. And now we find out who drew number 2. The former NXT UK Women's Champion, Kaylee Ray, enters at number 2, and she gets into the face of J-Flow and Mackie and starts mouthing off to them, saying that she held the UK title for over 400 days, and now she's coming to make a statement in the Royal Rumble match. The bell rings, and the Royal Rumble gets underway. The two women begin the Rumble, and Kaylee Ray goes to attack Mackie, and she sort of stops her. She's like, stop. Then she asks the crowd, who's the cutest in the world? And then before they can say Io-chan, Kaylee Ray slaps her in the face. And she's like, I'm going to shout at you, because I'm Kaylee Ray, and I'm big and Scottish, and I'm a bitch. And Mackie slaps her back. And she slaps her really hard, and Kaylee Ray sort of holds her mouth and smiles at Mackie as if to say, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing. And they get into a fight, and they fight for the 90 seconds, no eliminations happen, and then number 3 enters.
Girl killer, she a monster. You know my name, and I ain't come here to play. I'm the one that's doing damage while I'm posing for the camera.
NXT superstar Chelsea Green is number 3. She storms to the ring and takes the fight to both women, both Mackie and Kaylee Ray. She picks up Mackie and she tosses Mackie over the top rope, but Mackie skins the cat, avoiding elimination, none of her feet hitting the floor. She gets back into the ring. Chelsea and Kaylee Ray then fight it out for a little bit longer, and then no more eliminations, and number 4 comes in.
Bring it to the floor.
Naomi from Monday Night Raw runs to the ring. She has a full head of steam. She hits a big Hurricane Rana on all the women. She goes straight for Chelsea, hits one on her, then Kaylee Ray, and then finally Mackie. And then she goes to the top rope. She hits a big diving crossbody, taking out Kaylee Ray and Chelsea Green. Naomi turns around, and Mackie's there. She's staring at her. And they smile at each other. And they have some sort of fun. I imagine these two could definitely have a fun interaction, because one is sort of Feel the Glow. One is a J-Flow, J-pop idol. So, the sort of thing writes itself. I can trust these two to do it by themselves. They'll improvise, and they'll be funny. But then the buzzer sounds after that interaction ends, and number 5 enters to the ring. Another Scotswoman, Nikki Cross, rushes to the ring for her third Royal Rumble match. She takes the fight to everybody, and she takes a former alliance with her fellow Scot, Kaylee Ray, and they attack Naomi together. But then Kaylee Ray grabs her from behind and tries to dump Nikki Cross out, but Nikki hangs on, and then they start fighting with each other, and they take each other to the ground. So all 5 women in the ring, no eliminations yet. They're all laying on the ground as the countdown timer starts, and number 6 makes her way to the ring. Last year's Royal Rumble winner is here, at number 6. Charlotte takes her sweet time walking to the ring. She's taking her time to sort of get her robe off and pick out who her first target's going to be. She enters the ring and is greeted by Naomi and Mackie, both who try and take the Queen down. But Charlotte lays them both out with big boots. And then Chelsea tries to attack Charlotte after that. But Charlotte takes her down. She picks her up and she makes Chelsea Green the first elimination of the Royal Rumble match. Charlotte laughs as she takes all the boots to the other women in the ring. Kaylee Ray gets in the face of the Queen. She's like shouting at the Queen saying, "I'm not scared of you, bitch." And she like pie-face Charlotte, which would of course piss Charlotte off. And she'd take Kaylee Ray to the ground and them two would fight. As the timer sounds yet again. One half of the women in the Church of Rollins, and someone we'll actually see again later on tonight in the women's tag team title match. Candice LeRae is number 7. She makes her way to the ring and she starts picking a fight with Naomi. She tries to eliminate Naomi, but Naomi hangs on, skins the cat. Maybe does something really cool, but I can't think of what she'd do really cool this early on in the matchup, so we'll just have her avoid elimination normally for now. She gets back into the ring, and then there's no more eliminations, and then number 8 comes to the ring.
You know you want me. You can't take your eyes away from me. I'm the hottest thing since sliced bread.
Jillian Hall is all mic'd up, and she starts singing really obnoxiously loud. She said she's prepared a special Royal Rumble song, and she starts singing in her abysmal Jillian Hall voice as all the women in the ring are looking on like, "What the fuck you doing, bitch? You're shit." And then Mackie gets up and she grabs the microphone. She snatches it off Jillian Hall's head, and then she starts singing into it, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, we love Queen Mackie." Jillian gets angry and goes to punch Mackie, but Mackie ducks, and she hits a big clothesline, sending Jillian Hall over the top rope, eliminating her. Mackie laughs at Jillian on the floor, and then she gets into the corner. She's like, "Who's the cutest in the world?" to the crowd, and they're like, "Io-chan." And Mackie's taking into the crowds of adoration as Kaylee Ray sneaks up behind her and knocks her out of the ring. But she's caught by the waiting arms of the 4 other JFL members on the outside. And they sort of crowd surf her around the ring as the crowd cheers them on as they celebrate in JFL way. And they do a full lap of the ring, and then Mackie's met by Naomi, who has been tossed over the top rope by Charlotte. And Charlotte tosses Naomi into the waiting pile of JFL members on the outside, knocking them all over and eliminating both Mackie and Naomi. With obviously Kaylee Ray getting the credit for the elimination on Mackie because she's the one who threw her out of the ring. Charlotte eliminating Naomi. Both women are out. The crowd boo, and they take in the scenes as there's 4 remaining women in: Candice LeRae, Charlotte Flair, Kaylee Ray, and Nikki Cross. Billie Kay comes to the ring, and she takes her t-shirt off or whatever kind of entrance attire she's got on, and she stops just outside the ring before she gets in. She sort of surveys the landscape. She's like, "I see Charlotte, mate. I see Kaylee Ray. I see Nikki Cross. I don't want to get in here." And Charlotte calls her into the ring. She's like, "Come on, Billie, you're in. Your numbers come out." But Billie, she's like, "Nah, I don't think I will, mate." And she takes a seat on commentary. She's like, "I'm going to wait for the perfect time to win. I'm smart. I'm going to wait until everyone else is worn out, and then I'm going to get into the match. There's nothing that says I can't do this, mate. You got to be joking me." And then that's really the main thing that happens for that entry number. Then another minute of action goes by, and then the countdown goes off again. As is number 10, we are 1/3 of the way through the Royal Rumble comes out. Sonya Deville storms to the ring with a purpose. She's focused and she's going to win this match tonight. She gets into the ring and she takes a fight to all 4 women. She grabs Nikki Cross and she locks her in an ankle lock and applies force. And obviously Nikki taps out, but there's no submissions in a Royal Rumble, so Sonya can leave the ankle lock on as long as she can. And Nikki grabs her ankle in pain when she lets go. She's struggling to get to her feet. She sort of stumbles up to the feet up against the ropes, using the ropes for leverage to support herself. When Sonya just comes flying in with a big clothesline and takes Nikki Cross down and out. Then Sonya Deville is still fresh. She continues to work over everyone else. She starts stomping on everyone. Kaylee Ray, Charlotte, and Candice. Before number 11 comes out.
FABULOUS. FABULOUS, yes. Diamonds on.
Carmella comes to the ring. And as soon as she gets into the ring, the first thing she does, she lays out Candice LeRae with a super kick. And then she just joins in on the action. Quite an uneventful minute and a half passes here. Nothing really exciting, no eliminations. Just a minute and a half of these women fighting before number 12 comes out. The crowd erupts as Paige makes her entrance into her first ever Royal Rumble match. She hasn't been seen, I believe, since was it Evolution when she fought Shayna Baszler. She's been away since then, but she's back here tonight, and she's looking to win the Royal Rumble and punch her ticket to WrestleMania to face Sasha Banks, the woman who beat her for the SmackDown Women's title. She comes in, she takes the fight to everyone. She starts dropping everybody with super kicks and rampages before her and Kaylee Ray get into a fight. And Paige hits her with a rampage and eliminates her. So Kaylee Ray's gone. Paige eliminates her. Paige and Charlotte then get into a fight. They're like, stare down, like, hey, remember Team PCB? She's like, yeah, I do. Remember that time I told your brother he was dead? And she's like, yeah, I do. And then for good old time's sake, they get into a fight. First time in like 5.5 years. And then the buzzer goes out for number 13. The Empress comes to the ring and she joins the fight with Charlotte and Paige, with Sonya eventually joining in. So these three fight, then Sonya gets to her feet and she's like, I want a piece of this. So them four are fighting. Carmella and Candice are in the corners, getting time to recover, just watching on. A couple of times people get tossed over, like Asuka would toss Charlotte over, Paige would toss someone else over, but no one gets eliminated. And number 14 comes out. Mandy Rose comes to the ring, and she picks a fight with Carmella straight away. She's like, hey, she looks like the easiest target, so I'm going to fight her. She picks up and she hits her finisher. I think the Bed of Roses is what it's called. She hits that on Carmella. Paige lays Asuka out with a super kick, and Sonya takes Candice down. And then Charlotte's in the corner. She gets to her feet, and then she turns to face the three other women, and she sees Paige. She sees Mandy Rose, and she sees Sonya Deville. And those three sort of look around at each other like, oh hey, would you look at this? It's us three, back together again. And they sort of smile at each other as we get a brief Absolution reunion, and the three of them take out Charlotte Flair. And then just as they go to celebrate, Sonya sneaks up behind Mandy Rose, dumps her out of the ring, and ruins the feel-good moment. Then she then turns to Paige and she's like, I don't need your mentoring anymore, I'm better now than you ever were. I've left you behind, and I'm going to prove that by winning this tonight. And she takes Paige down. And then Sonya Deville's only one on her feet as number 15 comes out.
Fatal fantasy. Fatal fantasy.
It's Aaliyah of the Robert Stone brand, and she comes out at number 15. She, like Billie Kay, surveys the situation before she goes into the ring and she starts stomping on Carmella. A lot of people think Carmella is the easiest target coming in right now, it seems. And then she's like stomps on Carmella a couple of times and she celebrates her attack. She's like, woo, yeah, I'm kicking ass. And then she walks out. She walks backwards and then she bumps into Asuka. And then as she turns around, she's laid out with a spin kick and just knocked out. And Carmella gets up and she lays Asuka out of a super kick. And the 7 women fight. Carmella staying on her feet and actually getting a bit of offense in as number 16 enters. R-Truth's music hits. And he starts rapping his way down to the ring. He's like, y'all know what time it is. It's Royal Rumble. Let's crank it up. Let's crank it up. Here we go. And Carmella's in the ring. She's like, Truth, what are you doing? Why are you coming out here? I don't need your help. And R-Truth, he continues to rap. He's like, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. My number 16 draw. It may not be favourable, but I'm going to win it. But from behind R-Truth, you slowly see, like, music doesn't play because Truth's music's still playing. You just see Shayna Baszler, who's tired of this shit, and Eve is with her. They slowly walk up behind Truth. They tap him on the shoulder. And obviously, they're talking to him, and we can't hear what they're hearing. You can't hear what they're saying. And then they show the piece of paper that R-Truth was looking at to him, and they point at it, and again, you can't hear what they're saying, but you get the gist of what they're saying. And then Truth looks around. He looks into the ring, He looks at Shayna, he looks at Eve, and he's like, oh, my bad, this one's on me. He leaves, and Carmella looks on, and she's like, oh my god, Truth, you've come out, you were supposed to be number 16 in the men's rumble, but you picked a ball for the women's rumble, which was why in that segment, Pierce and Bivens were trying to get his attention, but he wasn't listening, and Shayna came in, and we didn't show her taking her ball out. This was all, for this. So Shayna Baszler's the real number 16, but Carmella's distracted, looking at her friend who's just embarrassed her, and Asuka dumps her out while she's distracted. So Carmella's gone, Shayna is in. Just a nice, funny little spot to get R-Truth something to do, because I didn't have room for him in the men's rumble. So this is what he's doing. And it's very R-Truth of him. Then Shayna then gets into the match, and the former Raw Women's Champion is on a tear to get her title back. A title that she claims she never got her rematch for. And she takes the fight to like the main women in there, Charlotte, Asuka, Paige. She takes them all to the floor, and she grabs Aaliyah. Poor Aaliyah is easy prey. She gets choked out and just dumped her lifeless body over the top rope. And she's eliminated by Shayna Baszler. And then Billie Kay gets off commentary. She's like, you know, I've surveyed the match, and I think I'm ready to get in now, mate. See you later. And then she gets into the ring, and she jumps from behind Shayna Baszler, and she tries to eliminate her. But she got her up against the ropes, and she's trying to pull her over, but she can't quite get Shayna lifted over. And Shayna turns around, and Billie's like, she gets to her knees, cows in fear. She's like, oh, I'm sorry, mate. I didn't mean to do that. But as she walks backwards away from Shayna, she bumps into Asuka, and then she's kicked into the head, just like Aaliyah was earlier on, and dumped out. And then, of course, Shayna Baszler and Asuka, two people who consider themselves like the king of the pride in the women's division, they immediately get into a fight with each other and just start fighting and brawling. Billie Kay's, of course, on the outside, tearing at the apron, trying to climb back in, as the referees are trying to hold her back, saying, no, you've been eliminated, Billie. She's like, what? You got to be joking me. And then she's like, I wasn't ready to get in here. I wanted to wait for a little while longer. Like, no, Billie, you're gone. You've got to go to the back. And she sulks her way to the back as number 17 comes out. Peyton Royce makes her way to the ring, and she's holding her arms out in frustration. She's like, what the fuck, mate? I was literally now about to come in, Billie. You ruined this for us. You had to wait one more minute, Billie. That's why you had to wait, mate. And Billie's like, oh my god, you gotta be joking me. And then she pats Peyton on the back. She's like, good luck, Peyton. You can do this alone without me, mate. And Peyton gets in there. She takes the fight to a couple of the other women in there by herself, without Billie, holding her own, as like, we wait another minute. No eliminations in this minute. And then number 18 makes her way to the ring. Alexa Bliss makes her way to the ring, and she starts a fight with Sonya Deville, the woman that she had a lot of issues with last year, who actually had to get into the fight pit with her, and she got choked out. Well, Nikki Cross actually threw the towel in for her, so she'll claim she never got choked out. But that sort of old rivalry gets kicked back up. Candice and Paige are here, and they're both hanging on for life. They're on the verge of elimination because they've been there for a while now, but they managed to fight their way back into the ring. Still no more eliminations, as number 19 makes her way out. Former GX member returning to NXT, Shotzi Blackheart, who won the Fatal 4-Way last night to earn a shot in this Rumble. She comes to the ring on her tank, head of steam. She's coming to bring the fire. She takes all the women down. Big missile drop kick as she gets into the ring onto, I don't know, Peyton Royce. And then she starts howling to the crowd, like, oh! And then she hits a running corner move on Candice, who's laid out in the corner. But then as she gets up, Charlotte drops her with a big boot. And then more fighting continues, and during this time, Shayna Baszler eliminates Peyton Royce. So Peyton's gone. Both the Iconics are out. And then Shayna Baszler looking over at Peyton on the floor, laughing at the damage she's caused. When from behind her, Shotzi Blackheart shocks up and sneaks up behind Shayna Baszler and dumps her out. Just like she did in NXT in that one Battle Royal. And the crowd goes wild as Shayna Baszler did not expect it, and she's been done over by Shotzi Blackheart yet again. The crowd erupts as Shayna tries to gather her feelings. She's so over the moon that she managed to eliminate Shayna Baszler yet again, and Candice nearly dumps her out, but she manages to fight her way back in. And then number 20, the buzzer goes, and number 20 makes her way to the ring.
I'm on my own, against the wall. The pressure's building, but no, I will never fall. Instead of crying, they hear me roar. And now I see.
It's the EST of the WWE, and she enters as we are now 2/3 of the way through the Women's Royal Rumble match for 2021. Bianca enters the ring and starts whipping all the other women with her braid. She lays out Alexa with the KOD, and then Sonya Deville tries to take the fight to Bianca Belair, but Bianca sort of reverses it, takes the fight to Sonya, and then dumps Sonya Deville over the top rope, eliminating Sonya Deville. She then continues to fight with like Charlotte and Candice and all these other women. As the timer goes off again, no more eliminations as number 21 makes her way to the ring.
So traditional.
The sassy Southern Belle comes to the ring, and she has a woman's right for everyone. She hits everyone with a woman's right. Boom. Boom to you, Charlotte. Boom to Candice. Boom to Shotzi. Boom to Bianca, etc. And she gets her little hanky out and she starts wiping her sweat off, going, "Oh, this is going to be nice and easy." She tosses that onto Shotzi Blackheart because she had that beef with her when she was in GX for like a couple of months. And then she takes the fight to Shotzi, starts punching Shotzi while she's on the mat. Lacey kind of aggressive in this minute and a half that she's in, but doesn't eliminate anyone, and then the buzzer goes off again for number 22. A former Women's Tag Team Champion comes to the ring, flanked by Raquel Gonzalez. She enters the ring and goes to work on Alexa Bliss. Dakota lays her out of a kick and goes to gloat to the crowd. Shotzi gets to her feet and she takes the fight to Dakota. And then Dakota kicks Shotzi and tosses her over the top rope, but she skins the cat. Then as she goes to springboard herself back in, she's met with a kick again by Dakota, a big boot this time, losing her balance and tumbling to the floor, being eliminated. Dakota then turns her attention to Lacey Evans. She starts working over Lacey in the corner of a couple of stomps. Asuka's doing the same to Candice. As the timer goes off again and the buzzer hits, and number 23 makes her way to the ring. Ruby Riott runs to the ring and she immediately takes her target to Asuka, because Asuka was the one who was working over Candice just a minute ago, and that's of course her stable and mate tag team partner. The two members of the Church of Rollins double team Asuka, and then they dump Asuka over the top rope, and again she skins the cat and holds on. The former Royal Rumble winner, she has the experience. But as she's skinning the cat, like she's got her hands on the top rope, obviously doing the skin the cat thing, and then Candice and Ruby just keep smacking her hands over on the top rope, causing her to lose grip, and she drops as she lets go and just collapses to the floor. Asuka is eliminated, thanks to Candice and Ruby. And then they put their hands in the air, they pledge their allegiance to the Messiah, and they continue to double team up on somebody else. This time, it's Bianca Belair. They just attack her. Don't eliminate her, the 8 women in the ring fight for a little while longer before number 24 comes in. The current Women's Tag Team Champion enters next, and she enters with Lacey Evans is in the corner, of course, just resting, and Kyrie's got a sliding knee for Lacey, and she hits that, and then she turns that into, she goes to the top rope, she screams at the crowd, "Come on," and she hits the big insane elbow, and then eliminates the sassy Southern Belle. Kyrie's then jumped from behind by Candice and Ruby, because of course they're going to defend their titles. She can defend their titles against her later on tonight. I believe it's actually next. So, of course, there's a good chance for them two together jump on Kyrie and take her out and weaken her. So they don't eliminate her, they just continue to attack her and try and weaken her as much as they can. And then number 25 comes out.
Zelina Vega.
Number 25 is the associate of the Vega Mafia for the Raw Tag Team Champions. The woman who qualified yesterday over Casey Catanzaro, Zelina Vega. She enters the ring and she gets into the ring and she looks around at all the other women, and all the other women are looking at her like, "What are you doing in here? You're a manager." Alexa gets in her face and shoves her. Then Zelina takes the fight to Alexa Bliss as the two very short 5-foot women get into a fight, actually ends with Zelina getting a Hurricane Rana on Alexa and eliminating her. And Zelina's laugh, she looks at Alexa down on the outside, she laughs at her and says, "Who's the manager now, bitch?" And then she turns around and Charlotte's there. And then her and Charlotte looked like they were going to fight, but Zelina is jumped by Candice, and Ruby is jumped by Charlotte. Oh, other way around, sorry, Charlotte is jumped by Ruby. So then them two are taken down. So the only two women stood on their feet are Candice LeRae and Ruby Riott, as they continue to assault the other women in the match. And what it sounds.
I ain't the lady to mess with. Woo!
Go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Go, go, go.
She ain't the lady to mess with, and she's number 26 in the Women's Royal Rumble. Victoria enters the ring and goes right after the two women on their feet, which are Ruby and Candice. And she goes to attack them, and they stop her, and they pledge to the Messiah. They're like, "Hey, Victoria, you're really cool. Tony Storm seems to have turned us down, but you're really cool. We'd like to have you in the Church of Rollins." And then, of course, she does the thing where she's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll pledge. I'm gonna be with you." And it's a swerve, and she smashes their heads together. And the crowd erupts because Victoria's just done something fucking sick. She then picks up Kyrie, lays out Kyrie over Widow's Peak, and then she turns into a big boot from Charlotte. Charlotte shouts at Victoria, she's like, "I am the goddamn queen, woo, you're not going to get me." And then Zelina Vega jumps on Charlotte's back, and she's like trying to punch and claw at her head, and Charlotte just walks over to the ropes and dumps Zelina Vega over the ropes, and her feet hit the floor and she's eliminated. And Charlotte stands tall and she's like, "Woo, look at me, I am going to win my second Royal Rumble, woo." And then number 27 comes out. The former SmackDown Women's Champion comes to the ring, and her and Charlotte get into a fight. Bayley takes Charlotte down but turns around and goes face to face with Paige. And Paige looks at Bayley with anger, and she finally has another chance to get her hands on one of the women who cost her job, that being Bayley. And Bayley's like, I'm kind of less of a dickhead now. So obviously I still don't regret it because I hated you at the time, but I guess I'm kind of feel a little bit more bad. And then the crowd are like, "No, we don't want this. We want you two to fight each other because, girl, you hate each other, you dicks. Don't apologise, Bayley." And then Bayley and Paige do the thing where they trade blows. One punches each one, then the other one punches the other one. Blah blah blah. They trade blows. And then Candice jumps one and Ruby jumps the other. And they continue the assault on Paige. Both of them go after Paige, single-handedly taking her out. Like, they do loads of double team moves. Wicked Step Sister takes Paige down. Then they go to eliminate her as number 28 comes out. Another one we haven't seen since Evolution. AJ Lee, we didn't know what her status was. Was it a one-off? It may well have been, but she's back here tonight for the Women's Royal Rumble. And she makes a beeline for the ring to save her frenemy. She takes the fight to Ruby Riott, but then she's overwhelmed by Candice, and then of course the numbers game have caught up to AJ immediately. They go to double team AJ Lee, but Paige is back on her feet. And she attacks Ruby. And the frenemies are now on top. They get the upper hand on the two members of the Church of Rollins. Paige tosses Ruby out, and AJ eliminates Candice. AJ and Paige then sort of turn to each other. They look at each other and just smiling and grinning. They share a hug, and they go to work over Dakota and Kyrie before number 29 enters. The Robert Stone brand's Brandi Lauren is the penultimate entrant in the Women's Royal Rumble, and she goes straight for AJ Lee, and she stomps on Bianca, and then she meets Victoria. Victoria overpowers Brandi, hits a Widow's Peak, and eliminates Brandi fairly quickly. Victoria turns right into a Charlotte Flair big boot, before Charlotte eliminates Victoria to a chorus of boos. And then there's no more eliminations as the countdown clock strikes for the final entrant in the Women's Royal Rumble. It is the former Raw Women's Champion, the last entrant in the Royal Rumble, the little Spitfire herself. She makes an immediate impact. She jumps on Charlotte. She starts laying her shots in on Charlotte. And then the final 8 women in the Royal Rumble fight for a few minutes. There's no eliminations go by. We get like 4 or 5 minutes of this. 4 or 5 might be a bit too much, maybe 2 or 3. Then Liv Morgan and AJ Lee have a little sequence, and it ends in AJ giving Liv a Hurricane to the floor, eliminating her. Now you see why I didn't want it to be too quick, because Liv would have been in and out like that, so we do give her a little bit of minutes. But one of the bad sides of coming in near the end and not winning is your times are going to be a little bit skewed, because you've got to quickly be eliminated. And poor Liv goes a couple of minutes before getting eliminated here. And then the remaining 7 women continue to fight. AJ and Charlotte, they have an exchange, a bit of a rematch from Evolution. AJ gets the Black Widow locked in on Charlotte, but Charlotte sort of counters it and gets her onto her shoulders and eliminates AJ Lee. And the crowd boo again, because the Queen is dumping out all of the legends. And she's like, well, look at them, they are not as good as me. Woo. Then a couple more minutes go by, the final 6 women in the Rumble being Charlotte, Bayley, Dakota, Kyrie, Paige, and Bianca. Charlotte gets in Bayley's face, and she's like, I'm going to win the Rumble again, woo! And she shoves Bayley to the floor, and then she turns around to go work over Bianca Belair. But Bayley slowly rises to her feet after Charlotte shoves her to the ground, and the crowd erupts because they know what's going to happen. And Bayley pulls a little headband out like she did at Evolution. She takes out her little headband, ties her hair into the little ponytail, taps Charlotte on the shoulder. Charlotte turns around, and she's nailed with the biggest, most emphatic belly to Bayley you've ever seen in your life. And then Bayley picks her up and tosses Charlotte out, eliminating her to a thunderous ovation. Bayley looks down at Charlotte and around at the crowd. She's like sort of taking in the adoration of the crowd, but she doesn't have time because Dakota Kai is behind her, and she sneaks up and she quickly dumps Bayley out. And then they boo Dakota instead of Charlotte because they loved Bayley there. After Dakota dumps Bayley out, she just falls down, like sort of due to exhaustion, with the 4 remaining women taking one of the corners each, and doing the sort of thing where they will stare at each other in the corner, because I like that. It's very cliched, but I love it. Paige, Bianca, Kyrie, and Dakota. One of these women will be receiving a championship opportunity at WrestleMania. The 4 women brawl for a few more minutes, with Kyrie ascending to the top rope. She's going to hit the insane elbow on Bianca Belair, but Paige shoves her off the top rope, and both her feet plant on the floor. Kyrie Sane is eliminated. Dakota sneaks up behind Paige, and she dumps her over the top rope, but she lands on the apron. Paige grabs Dakota from the apron, and Dakota's in the ring, and Paige on the apron. She pulls her, like, her hair, and then she gets pulled onto the apron, so both women are now on the apron exchanging blows. And the crowd are on the edge, because they know someone's on the edge, they know someone's going to get eliminated here. Both women are teetering on the edge of extinction. Paige nails a super kick on Dakota, and she sort of stumbles back. But she doesn't let go of the ropes, and then she retaliates with a big boot to Paige. And Paige loses her balance, and she sort of wobbles, falls backwards, and nearly falls off, but then she grabs the ropes to secure herself. So she's sort of on the apron leaning back, because she was caught wobbling, and her arms outstretched, holding onto the rope to keep her in, when Dakota kicks Paige's arms, and then that causes her to lose her grip. She lets go of the rope, and she crashes to the floor, to a sea of boos as Dakota rolls back into the ring safely. Dakota and Bianca both lay on the floor recovering, the final 2 in the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble. They both rise to their feet and look up at the WrestleMania sign before entering into an exchange. They fight for a few minutes before Dakota tosses Bianca over the top rope, but she skins the cat and fights her way back in. Dakota charges at Bianca with a kick, but she ducks, causing Dakota to get caught up in the rope. She got her leg stuck in the top rope, and this leaves Dakota vulnerable. Bianca picks up Dakota in position for a KOD, and then she got up on her shoulders, like in the KOD position, and then she backs up against the ropes, and then just like she eliminated Io Shirai from that Battle Royal in NXT one time, sort of like a KOD position elimination to Dakota Kai, plonking her outside the ring. Dakota's feet smack onto the floor, and Bianca Belair has won the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble match. And the crowd going wild as she celebrates. She spins her head around, she holds back her tears, and she looks up at the WrestleMania sign. She's going to WrestleMania. I'm honestly okay with this getting a 75. I think I had to keep Shayna, Charlotte, of course, and of all people, Liv Morgan strong. Not Asuka, she was fine with it. Bayley was fine with it. The people you'd expect to be angry were fine. Paige, she was fine with it. And then once I kept all 3 of them strong, the only person who still complained, take a wild fucking guess who that was. So she got paid off $100,000. And yeah, the match gets a 75, which I actually expected worse from, considering the level of some of these women, and like just the fact that there's 30 women in it. So there's a 75 rated Aaliyah match on pay-per-view now. And that's the thing that happened. But Bianca did win the Rumble there, it says. Obviously, you've just listened to the whole thing. And I'm not going to go over it anymore here, because I've already gone over all the spots. Like here, I've actually poked in Charlotte got the most eliminations, Candice lasted the longest, blah, blah, blah. So that's all been done with. It's weird for me just to skip over it like this, but this is being recorded separately. So I've already recorded the Rumble audio. We then get backstage segment, Io Shirai with her 2 belts, getting ready for the first of her 2 matches, the tag team title match. And Kyrie walks up to her all sad and sweaty. She's like, oh, I couldn't win the Royal Rumble. And then they 3 of them hug. And they're like, it's okay. You're going to get 1 win tonight, Kyrie, it's fine. As they go out there to defend the tag team titles. In a fucking 80. I knew this was going to be the best women's tag team match we've ever done. This could have main evented like an episode of Raw, maybe even a pay-per-view. But the attack that Ruby and Candice put on Kyrie during the match that I made sure to mention and elongate, because it comes into effect here. Kyrie's not 100%. So she's the one who takes the fall here. And Io 2 belts is no more. Because Ruby Riott and Candice LeRae defeat Io and Kyrie. In 15:42, Ruby pins Kyrie to win Ruby Riott and Candice LeRae the tag team titles. 64 for Kyrie, 78 for Io, a 71 for Candice, and a 66 for Ruby. 80 rated match, that's fucking excellent. That's only 1 rating worse than Seth Rollins and Randy Orton got. Which is, you know, certainly a thing that exists. Then after the match, they try to continue to attack Kyrie and Io to, like, just rub the salt in the wounds. When Toni Storm comes out, she's like, no, I want to wrestle them fair. I want to wrestle Io fair and square. If I can't beat Io 100%, I won't have earned my title. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not joining your church. So we go straight into the Raw Women's title match. 76. Io Shirai is a goddess, I guess. But since she wasn't really that worn out because Kyrie took most of the damage in the tag match, that was also the other excuse I had, because I knew Io was winning this one right after, and if she was too beaten up, that wouldn't have made much sense and would have made her look like shit. But it's still a fairly fresh Io, and she wins in 12:31 with a German suplex apparently to make defense number 1 of the Raw Women's title. 52 for Toni Storm, so she is actually getting a lot better. And 78 for Io Shirai. Mustafa Ali is here. And he's defending his Universal Championship against somebody he's 99% sure he knows who it is. But he's been called Mystery Attacker on all the graphics. He's never been named. But we saw somebody drop an hourglass. And we recreated that cool shot of Adam Cole looking down at the hourglass of his title from NXT. And then the lights go out. And everyone's fears are confirmed. And in 6 minutes, 14 seconds, Karrion Kross submits Mustafa Ali with a cross jacket to win the Universal title on his debut match on SmackDown. 73 rated. That's pretty good, actually, considering Kross is in there and it was only 6 minutes long. He gets a 66. Mustafa Ali gets a 60. And Doomsday has arrived here on SmackDown. Post-match celebration, Kross just holds his Universal title up as like the red lights from his entrance just flash off. Smoke rises, Scarlett dances around maniacally as Karrion Kross is the Universal Champion. Mustafa Ali sulks to the back. He has, quite frankly, disappointed everyone here tonight. And he only lasted 6 minutes. And it was quite pathetic from him. And who knows what the future holds for him. Because he really hasn't let everyone down here tonight.
You got me feeling diamond rich. Nothing on this planet compares to it. Don't you agree? Who needs to go to sleep when I got you next to me? All night I ride with you. I know you got my back and you
But no time to dwell on that, because the match you all are here for has arrived. 30 men, one goal, one dream. Who is going to WrestleMania? Entrant number 1 in the 2021 Men's Royal Rumble match, one half of the Street Profits, Montez Ford. And he's all fired up, he's got his red solo cup. He's firing up the crowd, he's drinking out of it, he's standing on the steps, swigging himself with whatever drinks he's got in there. He's firing himself up, he does the Batista rope pull. And he's making his Royal Rumble debut here tonight, and he's going to have to do it from spot number 1. And then he awaits to see who his opening adversary will be, the Drew number 2. The Purge Sirens Belair as their leader, Aleister Black, enters the Royal Rumble match at number 2. Montez Ford, of course, looks concerned as the bell rings. This is a very juxtaposing opening too. You got the very hype, very cool Montez Ford and the very moody, brooding, dark Aleister Black. Montez Ford jumps on Black and he gets a few shots off on him before the fight evens up again. And the two superstars face off. They go back and forth for another minute. And in the end, Aleister Black drops Montez Ford with a big kick as number 3 makes his way to the ring.
We're really glad that you're our friend, and this is a friendship that'll never ever end.
The Firefly Funhouse theme echoes out as Bray Wyatt makes his return to WWE. The first time we've seen him since he got burnt at Super Showdown, which nothing. That's just a thing I've got in the back of my throat. When I had the Fiend burnt back in October, remember that? Remember when that happened? Yeah, cool, okay. He joyfully makes his way down to the ring, showing no signs of facial damage or any kind of. But no, he burnt himself on his hand, and I'm thinking of other worlds where the Fiend got burnt. And he's showing no signs of scars or burns or anything. He's hyping himself up on the apron. And he's on the apron, he's waving to the crowd, he's going, yay! Then he gets into the ring. And he immediately gets Ember Black Mass and eliminated in like 4 or 5 seconds. As Black just looks down at Bray Wyatt outside the ring, he stares a hole through him. And he looks on in shock at his instant dismissal in this Rumble match. He just sits on the floor looking up in shock, holding his hair. Like, oh no, yeah, that's not Yowie Wowie. And he just erupts into a fit of laughs. And he just laughs, he just points at Aleister Black and continues to laugh as he makes his way to the back. Montez Ford, he gets back into the fight, he takes a couple of shots at Aleister Black. Them two fight off for a little while longer when number 4 makes his way to the ring. Sheamus stalks to the ring, like a man on a mission. He immediately jumps on Aleister Black, and he and Montez Ford neutralise the threat that the Purge leader possesses. Sheamus quickly grabs Montez Ford and tosses him over the top rope, and Montez Ford skins the cat to survive. He doesn't do the thing where he flips back over the top rope into the ring, he does the thing where he flips onto the bottom rope and crawls under like that. Just randomly, just before I specify that. Then number 5 comes to the ring. Sami Zayn enters at number 5, and he's got a head full of steam. He immediately jumps on Aleister Black as well. Every single person who enters this match has jumped on Aleister Black, apart from Bray Wyatt, who got jumped on by Aleister Black. And he takes him down with a Blue Thunder Bomb. Then Montez Ford and Sami Zayn have like a fun exchange with each other, and Sheamus interrupts it. He takes both men down with a double clothesline. Before he backs into the corner, he's like, fella, and he starts smacking his chest, calling for a bro kick. Montez Ford gets up, he takes the bro kick, and he sells it like fucking death because he's like the best seller in the company. And then Sheamus pulls Sami Zayn to his feet as the buzzer sounds as number 6 makes his entrance. Kevin Owens comes to the ring and picks a fight with the biggest man in the ring, and that'll be Sheamus, the only man on his feet. Owens takes him down with a stunner, and he fires himself up to the crowd. But during this time in the corner, Sami Zayn has risen to his feet. Owens turns, and him and his best friend meet eye to eye once again. His best friend turned bitter enemy, turned best friend, turned bitter enemy again. Owens and Zayn, they sort of look around, the crowd is losing their mind, going fight forever, fight forever, fight forever. And then they just look at each other, smile, shrug their shoulders, and they do the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn exchanging punches spot, because that's always going to get a massive pop. And it's always really fun and really cool. Owens then drops Sami with a stunner, and then he notices another former enemy of his, Aleister Black, in the ring. And he turns his attention to him as the countdown sounds for number 7.
One and only.
Ricochet is number 7, and he enters the ring with a big springboard crossbody, and it takes Sheamus off. He takes Sheamus down with it. Ricochet then gets into a very athletic contest with Montez Ford, both of them doing like cool flips and like just athletic stuff. And then Tez takes like Ricochet down with, I guess, like a spine buster or something. And then he goes for the ropes. He starts shaking the ropes like Batista or the Ultimate Warrior or whatever, the Ultimate Warrior rope shake thing. Then he gets up top and he hits a massive frog splash on Ricochet, right as the buzzer sounds for number 8.
Shock the system.
Adam Cole, baby. The current 2-time NXT champion enters. Oh, current and 2-time. Adam Cole, baby. The current and 2-time NXT champion enters at number 8, and he's about to pop off. Engaging right away with his former NXT rival Ricochet, he takes him down for the last shot. Montez Ford tries to fight Cole, but Cole tosses him over the top rope. And then Montez Ford against the cat yet again. But this time he does do the thing where he goes over the top instead of going under the bottom rope. But as he turns himself over to flip back into the ring, obviously he'd be facing the ring and his face is on display and is a target for Adam Cole, who kicks him in the face, and he lets go and just collapses to the floor, and Montez Ford is eliminated. And then everyone else gets laid out with a super kick by Adam Cole, and then he's the only man in the ring. And you know what that means? If everyone else is on the floor, he's on his feet. He bends over. Oh, Adam Cole, baby.
Blue collar working man.
The former WWE and Intercontinental Champion, Otis, enters at number 9. And he gets into the ring when every single person in the ring like jumps on him as he slides into the ring, and they all like doing the thing where they all punch on the big man, and then the big man powers away and everyone goes flying. He shoves Adam Cole to the floor and he screams, "Oh yeah!" Otis, he gets a couple of shots in. He stays on top pretty much most of the time he's in the ring. And then Kevin Owens and Sheamus team up on him. They neutralize the big man, the blue collar working man. And yeah, then entrant number 10 comes out. The crowd erupts. The sword has been wielded, and last year's Royal Rumble winner enters. He's hoping to make it back-to-back Rumble wins. He enters, and straight away he targets Aleister Black and he drops him over Claymore. And he does the kip up. And then he's face to face with his friend Sheamus. Them two and Cesaro have sort of been friendly with each other all month on TV. And then Sheamus and Roode, they shake hands and like, yeah, buddy, you're my friend. And then they're about to go to blows because they're two big hard men. When they spot Kevin Owens going to his feet behind them. And they turn to him and they look at each other and they nod their head. And they're like, yeah, let's get him. And then Sami Zayn comes into frame and he stands side by side with his best friend. And the two pairs of best friends look at each other and they get into a fight. And then Sheamus drops Sami Zayn with a bro kick. Drew McIntyre gives Kevin Owens a Claymore. And then Sheamus and Drew hug, or like just rub each other on the head and go, good job, buddy. And then Drew McIntyre shocks his friend by eliminating Sheamus. Sheamus looks angrily in the ring at Drew. And Drew looks down at him like, wait, man for himself, bro. The Sheamus' expression changes, he smiles, he nods his head in respect, he's like, fair play, fella. And Drew then turns around and he gets into a fight with Adam Cole. And this is a callback to the man who attacked him when he debuted in NXT nearly 4 years ago. They get to finish that little story. Aleister Black then joins the fray, so we've got 3 former NXT champions all fighting it out of each other. Black is the one who ends up standing tall. Ricochet tries to take it to Aleister Black, but he's also dropped down. Aleister Black's the only man on his feet, as the buzzer blares as number 11 comes to the ring. The lights go out and the fireflies shine as Bray Wyatt, the Eater of Worlds, enters at number 11. He gets to the bottom of the ramp and he's got his lantern, he blows his little lantern out. And then the lights come back on and he stares at Aleister Black as he shakes his little fedora off and enters the ring, very slowly. The 2 mysterious cult leaders go face to face before a brawl ensues. Wyatt then takes Aleister Black off his feet with like the running rebound like crossbody thing he does. And then Bray gets him in position for Sister Abigail. But then Aleister Black shoves him off and fights him out. He nails a black mass and he eliminates Bray Wyatt. He lasts slightly longer than the Funhouse version, but he still didn't last very long at all. So two versions of Bray Wyatt have been eliminated by Aleister Black here tonight. Aleister then turns attention to Adam Cole, reuniting that little rivalry from NXT. Both men, they nailed kicks to each other at the same time, so every single person is on the floor as the siren blares and number 12 comes out. John Cena is here. He runs to the ring, he slides into the ring and then he surveys the scene. He sees everyone laid out. He realises all his opponents are down, so he decides to gloat for a little bit. He throws his hat into the crowd towards a child at ringside, and he's like, John Cena's going to win this match, Jack. He looks at Otis in the middle of the ring down, and he's like, well, sticks his hand in the air for the 5-knuckle shuffle. But behind him rises Drew McIntyre. Again, like the shot of him against The Undertaker from Extreme Rules. I don't know if I've ever done that yet, but it's very cool, and I like doing it whenever, this time on John Cena. And then Cena turns around, he's dropped with a massive claymore. Knocks John Cena out onto his ass, and he rolls to the outside of the ring, under the bottom rope, just to catch his breath. Then Drew backs into the corner, and he's like, 3, 2, 1. And then Otis gets to his feet, and he's dropped with a claymore, and eliminated. Then Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they see Drew, they take down Drew. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the 2 best friends, on their feet together, as number 13 comes out.
You think you know me?
The man who made a legendary return in this very match a year ago, Edge. This year he hopes to win it all. He storms the ring and he faces off with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. The 3 Canadians all face off, but Aleister Black gets to his feet in the background. And then he's nailed with Edge by a spear. And Kevin Owens just watches on, he's got like this massive shit-eating grin on his face because he's still a mark for Edge deep down. And it's so cool to him that he's in the same match as Edge again. And he's like, come on. And he pushes Sami in front of him, and Edge spears Sami and eliminates Sami. And Owens has thrown his best friend to the wolves here because he was being a mark for Edge. That's when Edge and Kevin Owens then go, hey, we should team up. And they go for Ricochet. Owens goes for Ricochet, Edge goes for Adam Cole. And then the buzzer goes off, and number 14 comes to the ring. Just 24 hours removed from becoming the United States Champion, Chad Gable enters at number 14, and he immediately locks up with Kevin Owens, and he lays him out of a big old German suplex. Gable then gets into it with Drew McIntyre. Ricochet rolls onto the apron. He rolls onto the bottom rope onto the apron, and he dives towards Chad Gable. But as Ricochet comes flying down, Gable catches him for a belly-to-belly, and then he tosses him over the barricade in the belly-to-belly position, but Ricochet grabs onto the barricade, so he survives. None of his feet hit the floor. So he does the John Morrison spot, when John Morrison was shoved off and grabbed onto the barricade. We're going to try that here. Sounds a bit a lot on paper here, but I'm sure we could pull it off. Nobody gives a better belly to belly than Gable, and nobody could do something like this quite like Ricochet, so I'm sure it'll be fine. Ricochet then hops onto the barricade, and he's like, okay, well, I know what I've got to do. I saw Kofi do this. I've got to jump from the barricade onto the apron. And then he goes to jump when John Cena's on the outside, and just as Ricochet's about to jump, John Cena accidentally walks into his way, and Ricochet trips and he's jumping and just falls on the floor, and John Cena's like, oh no, anyway. And then number 15 comes out.
Competition will devour. Reign walks on the ring with intelligence and power.
Number 15 is Keith Lee from SmackDown. He goes to enter the ring. Like he's about to go up the steps, but he sees John Cena on the outside. And then he just sort of gestures to the ring to John. He's like, you going to get back in there now, buddy? Cena's like, of course I am. I'm just recovering for a little bit, Keith. It's fine. And then Keith's like, oh no, you don't, you little fucking bitch. And he grabs John Cena and throws him in. And then Cena turns around, he's speared by Edge. And then Keith Lee enters, and he nails him with a big spirit bomb. And Cena again rolls to the outside to recover. Keith Lee then charges at Adam Cole in the corner, and does the big pounce. And just like in NXT when he was flying, he was sent over the barricade into the crowd. This time he's sent over the top rope and to the floor. He then gets into a fight with Kevin Owens, and they brawl until number 16 comes to the ring. Dio Madden escorts his man Cedric Alexander to the ring. Cedric jumps in and onto the back of Keith Lee, and he takes Keith Lee down. Kevin Owens then drops Cedric Alexander, the man, his cohort in having the greatest match of the series so far. He drops him with a stunner. And then Drew McIntyre nails Chad Gable with a Claymore. And then Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre bump into each other. They turn around and come eye to eye with each other. And then they're just sort of like mouthing stuff inaudibly at each other like, hey, buddy. And then their attention is sort of turned away to the aprons. Because obviously they're facing each other in the ring, in the center of the ring. And from the apron that is the hard cam side stands Killian Dane. And on the opposite apron stands Dexter Lumis. And then they notice the two Purge members. One turns to the right, one turns to the left. And they go to swing for the Purge members and they knock them off the apron. But Aleister Black, he comes out from behind Kevin Owens while he's distracted and dumps him out. So for the second year in a row, someone has jumped onto the apron to distract Kevin Owens, and he's been dumped from behind to be eliminated by the stable leader. Sucks to be him, I guess, but what's he going to do? Aleister then tries to do the same thing to Drew McIntyre, but Drew McIntyre fights him off, but he's dropped by a Black Mass. Black goes to pick up Drew McIntyre, and then Edge fights Aleister Black off, but then Edge is also dropped with a Black Mass. Aleister then goes, okay, then I'll just get rid of you then, cunt. He picks up Edge and he tries to eliminate him. The Fiend appears behind Aleister Black, clearly angry that both versions of himself have been eliminated by him in this Royal Rumble. He locks in the Mandible Claw on Aleister Black and sort of just walks him towards the rope with the Mandible Claw locked in. He then pushes Aleister Black over and out of the Royal Rumble. The Fiend laughs at Aleister, and the lights flicker on and off again. The Fiend is gone. He's not an entry in this match, he's just screwed Aleister Black. Aleister Black is gone. And everyone in the ring is down. And number 17 has his pick of the bunch. Robert Stone makes a confident entrance in his fighting attire. He's sort of like doing air boxing, shadow boxing. Of course, he's accompanied by Elias, Aaliyah, and Brandy. And Aaliyah's putting the mouth guard in his mouth. He's like, okay, look, Rob, look, everyone's down, you can do this. And he struts to the ring, head full of confidence for whatever reason. He enters the ring and he sort of like softly stomps on every single person in the match who's all on the ground. And then he spends most of the time like flexing his muscles, like, just not trying to avoid contact, and every time someone moves, they just get stomped on, so they can't get up. And he waits for entrant number 18 to enter.
I'm the Boogeyman, and I'm coming to get you.
Number 18, a former 24/7 championship rival of Robert Stone. He told him all those months ago that he'd see him again soon, and he has just done that. He's made his promise come to fruition. Boogeyman crawls his way to the ring, and then he gets into the ring, and Robert Stone is terrified. Boogeyman puts the worms in his mouth, and he smiles at him. He's like, hey, he smiles, and Robert Stone, he's not having any of it. He's terrified of the Boogeyman. Aaliyah is in the ring with him, Brandy's in the ring with him, Elijah's in the ring with him, and he grabs Aaliyah, and he pushes her in front of him. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? And then she looks horrified at the Boogeyman, but the Boogeyman grabs Aaliyah by the back of her neck, and he grabs a handful of worms. He's going to put the worms in Aaliyah's mouth. Before Elias comes to save the day, he smacks the Boogeyman with his guitar, and then he gestures to Robert Stone to pick him up, and Robert Stone does it, and he eliminates him. Boogeyman is gone. Robert Stone eliminates somebody in a Royal Rumble match. And of course, this being Robert Stone, he's going to be like, well, holy shit, I'm the goddamn man. I've just eliminated somebody. And he goes, so he's over the top of celebration, and he's like, yeah, let's go, bitch. And then Elias and Stone keep everyone grounded. And then the timer starts counting down again, and Stone turns to the ramp, and he's like, well, I'm on a roll, so whoever this is, they better feel my wrath. They better not want to come out here and face hard body Stone. Oh dear. Brock Lesnar makes his way to the ring. He gets into the ring, and he looks at Elias, he looks at Robert Stone. Before he can attack, Robert Stone hands him a Robert Stone brand business card. And Brock takes it, and he looks at it. He looks at Robert Stone, and then he laughs. He looks at Heyman, then points to Stone in front of Heyman, looking at Heyman. He's like, is this guy serious? And then he gives Robert Stone a thumbs up. And Robert Stone, he looks ecstatic, but also completely shocked that Brock Lesnar was giving him a thumbs up. And he turns to Lee and Brandy, like, oh my god, we've got Brock Lesnar in the Robert Stone brand. But Lee and Brandy's faces, they don't share the same joy, because they do not have their back turned to Brock Lesnar. So they notice Brock Lesnar tear the Robert Stone brand card in half. And they're like, Robbie, mate, turn around. And him and Elias both turn around. Brock Lesnar drops them both a double clothesline. He picks up Elias gets F5'd. Thrown over the top rope, eliminated even despite he's over in the match. He then picks up Elias's guitar. He does give that a couple of strums because he's Brock Lesnar and he would do something stupid like that if he's improvising. And then he cracks it over the back of Robert Stone. And then he goes to pick up Robert Stone's lifeless body. But Robert Stone's like, no, please, I beg. And then Brock lets him go and he eliminates himself. Brock just laughs at him, and then he turns his attention to Chad Gable. Gable eats an F5 and is also eliminated by Brock Lesnar. And Brock waits for number 20 to come out. As he faces the ramp, he's like, come on, who's going to get their ass kicked now? Did somebody say something about kicking ass? 40,000 in the stadium, all with their index fingers pointed up to the sky. Oney Lorcan storms to the ring, and he gets in the face of Brock Lesnar. Brock laughs at Oney, and Oney, he gets back in Brock's face again. He's like, come on, Brock, throw him up, I'm going to kick your ass. Just screaming in Brock Lesnar's face. And then Brock just continues to laugh at him, when Oney slaps the fuck out of him, like the stiffest fucking slap you've ever seen in your life. And Brock sort of just turns his little head sideways, like, okay, kid. And then Oney just continues to nail multiple slaps just across the face of Brock Lesnar, these stiff as fuck slaps. Brock, of course, doesn't actually go down, he just takes them. But he screams in Brock Lesnar's face, like, come fight me, come and kick my ass, Brock. And then Brock drops Oney with a stiff clothesline. We're going to try and make this look like as much of a shoot as we can. And he rains punches down Oney when he's on the floor. And I'm going to risk it. If anyone's mental enough to do it and agree to it, it's Oney Lorcan. Brock elbows Oney in the head. And I don't know whether I'd have him blade or use like a blood pack. I try not to have it be where he legitimately caves his skull in like he did with Randy Orton. But I kind of want Oney to bleed for the visual, so we need Oney busted open. And then Cedric Alexander sort of like jumps on him. But Brock just gets rid of Cedric with ease. And he's distracted eliminating Cedric Alexander. Brock turns around and he's face to face with a bloody Oney Lorcan. He's back on his feet. The crowd is cheering him on because he's calling for more. He wants more punishment. He's not out of this fight just yet. He wants to fight Brock Lesnar again. Brock goes for another stiff clothesline on Oney, but Oney ducks it. And he corners Brock's. And he nails a couple of stiff uppercuts to the Beast in the corner. The crowd is losing their fucking mind at this point because, of course they would. Oney's in there. He's slapped Brock Lesnar as hard as fuck in the face. He screamed at him. He's got his head busted open. He's still coming for more. He then backs away. And from the corner after he hits the massive uppercuts. And he backs away from Brock. He screams at him as he goes charging for a running uppercut. And Brock catches that into position for a German suplex. He then delivers an F5 to Oney. But that is all she wrote for Oney, I'm afraid. He's only in it for a minute and a half. But what an impactful minute and a half it was. That is something I always do think. Like, obviously being in the Iron Man or Royal Rumble is cool. But if you're in there for 40 minutes and do fuck all, I think it's better for you to be in there for like 3 minutes. You do a couple of cool things and then get eliminated. That's a more memorable Rumble for me, I don't know. And for example, there are people in this match that have been in there for a while, but no one's going to be talking about them. They're all going to be talking about Oney Lorcan. He then picks up Edge and Drew McIntyre both with not at the same time, separately. Delivers both of them F5s, but they don't get eliminated. So once again, Brock Lesnar is the only man on his feet, and number 21 comes out to confront the Beast. The NXT UK champion Walter slowly marches to the ring. And Brock Lesnar sort of looks at him, like in a very similar manner to how he reacted to Keith Lee last year. He's like, this is a big boy. Walter, he gets into the ring, and he goes face to face with the Beast, and he puts his arms behind his back to show he's not intimidated by Lesnar. And then he dropped Brock Lesnar with a big boot, and he goes all like spaghetti-legged. And then, we're doing it. Brock Lesnar takes a signature Walter chop, which I think he'd sell fantastically because I think Brock Lesnar is one of the best sellers in the company. Drew McIntyre then gets up and he and Walter get into a massive hoss fight. And we're not going to have him be eliminated by Drew McIntyre within seconds in this match, like the fucking real life Survivor Series match he was in. No one gets eliminated, and then number 22 comes out instead. Another big hoss. Almighty Bobby Lashley of VIP Nation is out next, accompanied by MVP. He enters the ring, and the first thing he does is nail Walter with a huge spear before he takes the fight to Drew McIntyre. Lashley takes Drew McIntyre down with a spear, and he picks up Edge, and he takes a massive dominator because he's not going to spear Edge because that's Edge's move. Then the only men on their feet are Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. And then they sort of get into a fight in a rematch from their match at Great Balls of Fire. Brock Lesnar ends up taking Bobby Lashley to the ground though. And Brock Lesnar backs into the corner. And he's like, suplex city, bitch. He shouts to Bobby Lashley. But rising from behind Brock Lesnar on the apron is Keith Lee. In the Keith Lee rises like the Loch Ness Monster spot that he's done a couple of times in real life. And him doing it to Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble would be chef's kiss. And then Brock, he notices the big shadow that's sort of breathing over him. He turns to go face to face with Keith Lee. And Keith Lee shoves him from the floor. So like Keith Lee's on the apron. Brock's in the ring and he shoves Brock onto the floor before he gets back into the ring. And then he delivers a big shoulder block to Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar is staggered. He goes spaghetti legs again. He's up against the ropes, going all spaghetti legs. Keith Lee runs the length of the ring and hits a giant pounce. The Beast has been sent over the top rope, and his feet smack onto the floor. And Brock Lesnar is out thanks to Keith Lee. The crowd erupts, and Brock gathers himself on the outside, looking up at the big fella who manhandled the Beast. The man he beat at Super Showdown, Keith Lee. Keith Lee then turns around and he gets into a fight with Walter and both Bobby Lashley. Drew McIntyre and Edge, they've been there for a while. They gather themselves on the outside. Not on the outside, sorry, in the corner. As number 23 enters.
I bring the swag like nobody can. Don't mean to brag, what about it, yeah. I bring the swag like nobody can. It's in the bag, man, I got it.
The other half of the Street Profits, number 23, Angelo Dawkins. He makes a beeline for the ring, takes the fight to Bobby Lashley, hits a big spine buster, that sort of thing. Nothing really important happens in this minute and a half, it's just more fighting. And then number 24 comes out.
I'm all ready. I'm battle tested. This the story of a fighter who's got nothing to lose. Battle tested, next opponent he chooses will be left broken and bruised.
Another big man comes in. Bronson Reed from Aussie Might enters the fray at number 24. He immediately comes to the top rope and nails the big tsunami splash onto a down Drew McIntyre. He then picks a fight with Keith Lee as the two thick boys go at it. Edge is fighting Walter. I know, God rest his soul. Happy retirement again, Edge. And Angelo Dawkins fights Bobby Lashley. Lashley and Walter end up on the upper hand in their two fights. So they end up fighting with each other. And that ends with Walter eliminating the almighty Bobby Lashley. Walter and Drew McIntyre then get back into a fight because they'd have a fucking great match. I think that'd be a really sexy match to have. Drew drops Walter with like a headbutt or something, not quite a claymore. He just drops Walter with something, and then Edge spears Drew McIntyre. And then number 25 comes out.
No one will survive. Yeah, no one will survive. There's no escape.
Tommaso Ciampa enters at number 25. The man who we saw qualify last night at the Smackville show. He takes the fight to Edge straight away. Edge gets hit by the Willow's Bell before Ciampa changes his target to Angelo Dawkins. He also gets shot with a Willow's Bell and eliminated by Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa and Keith Lee are then getting into a fight, like Walter fights Bronson Reed, and Edge fights Drew McIntyre. And then number 26 comes out.
It's a new day, yes it is.
We talk about big meaty men here. So in comes another big meaty man. The man who coined the phrase. Big E's here, now 26. He storms to the ring to lock up with some big meaty men. He gives belly to bellies to Walter, to Keith Lee, to Bronson Reed, and to Edge. Before Tommaso Ciampa chop blocks him to neutralise him. And then he continues to work over the big man, like joint manipulation, does like arm bars and shit to him. Walter then gets to his feet. He backs up against the ropes, where he's blindsided by a claymore from Drew McIntyre and eliminated. So Walter is gone. Drew then goes face to face with Keith Lee. This is actually the first time they've ever interacted in this world, because Keith Lee's on SmackDown and Drew McIntyre's on Raw. Keith gets the upper hand of this, he tackles Drew McIntyre to the floor, and he then starts fighting with Bronson Reed as number 27 comes out.
El latino está en la casa, güey.
SmackDown's Lethal Lothario, he's lucky number 27. He's on the stage, he rips his pants off before he rushes to the ring. And he takes the fight to Edge. Edge gets laid out with a wing clipper. Garza then ducks an oncoming clothesline from Drew McIntyre, and then hits him with a springboard DDT, like on the rebound. Garza fires himself up. He then charges at Big E in the corner, who catches him and hits him with that big Uranagi from the corner. Big E then unstraps because he's got a big hoss fight ahead of him. And he nails big Bronson Reed with a big ending and eliminates the Colossal Australian. Nothing else really happens, and then number 28 comes out. The Swiss cyborg Cesaro, number 28 in the Royal Rumble. He rushes to the ring to hit his signature explosive offense. He nails running uppercuts to Keith Lee, to Edge, to Ciampa, and to McIntyre in the corners. And then Big E gets hit with the springboard uppercut. Cesaro then taunts to the crowd, like going, hey, look at my fiery offense. And then he catches Angel Garza, who's going for a springboard dropkick on him. And he grabs him in position for a swing. He gives a swing to Garza in the Rumble, going about 35 rotations. And then he lets him go. Garza sort of staggers to his feet, all confused. Like he's staggering around because he's been made dizzy. And then Cesaro charges at him with an uppercut, and he flies over the top rope as he was trying to like compose himself. Bit of a silly spot to put somebody I'm actually trying to make a star out of, and again, didn't last too long, but hey ho, it's fine. I'm not worried about it, never should you be. Cesaro continues to fight the other men in the ring, and then number 29 enters.
They don't want none. No, they don't want none. They looking scared, no, they don't really want none. We some southern boys with the promised strength.
Number 29 is the phenomenal AJ Styles. He draws the penultimate number in this Royal Rumble. So in reality, he moaned about not being number 30, but he got the next best thing. He said he was going to win it all this year, 5 years after his monumental debut in the very event. He enters with a big phenomenal forearm to Cesaro, and then he puts the boots to Edge in the corner. He's looking for revenge on the man who actually injured him in the Royal Rumble match last year. The minutes go by, there's not really any eliminations, they're just all sort of fighting amongst each other, when Buddy Murphy, we know he's going to be number 30, the buzzer sounds for him. Murphy's music hits, but he's nowhere to be seen. The 7 men in the ring, they keep fighting each other, but occasionally they're going to look back at the ramp like, okay, is number 30 here yet? Come on, buddy, where are you? And then on the screens, we cut to backstage to find Murphy laid out. Ruby and Candice are sort of checking on him, like, are you okay, Murphy? You can get up, you need to get to the Royal Rumble. Seth walks into the fray with the rest of the church, Gargano, Priest, Akam, and Razor. He's like, what the hell happened here? What the fuck happened here? What's happened? Who did this? Who did this? And then Seth sort of tries to compose everyone. He's like, Ruby, Candice, you take Murphy to the hospital. And then Seth looks down, he sees the ball that Buddy Murphy has with at least number 30 in it. He picks it up, and he's like, for the greater good. And then the entire Church of Rollins walk off. Well, all the men. He leaves Ruby and Candice behind with Murphy. Then we cut back to the ring, and the 7 men are still fighting in the ring, when like a minute or so passes, and the countdown hits again for number 30. Boos erupt as the former WWE Champion, the man who failed earlier tonight, comes to the ring, and he's been flanked by AOP, Damian Priest, and Johnny Gargano. Every single person in the ring is like, you've got to be fucking kidding me, this prick again. He's made enemies of pretty much the entire company at this point, and they're all just stopping like, okay then fucker, we're just going to stop and wait for you and just attack you. But then Seth gets to the bottom of the ramp, and he sends in AOP, Priest, and Gargano to fight off everyone else in the match. They all get dropped, and that's when Seth Rollins gets himself into the ring. He orders the church to pick up Cesaro, and they hold him in position for a curb stomp, and he gets stomped and eliminated by Seth Rollins. Seth holds his arms out. He soaks in the boos from the crowd. He knows for a fact that this Royal Rumble's in the bag for him. Tommaso Ciampa gets to his feet and he swings for Seth, but AOP take him down, and they hold him in position so that Seth can curb stomp him too, and he's eliminated. The boos are getting louder, because they're like, God fucking damn it, this is shit. Seth has just come in here and he's eliminating everyone we love. Big E is the next person to try. He gets to his feet, he tries to fight off the Church of Rollins, but Damian Priest is the one who lays him out of a reckoning. Seth gives him a stomp and eliminates him as well. Boo. The boos are almost deafening at this point. Seth Rollins, he's got a smug grin on his face, he's surveying the scene. And then he picks up Drew McIntyre to be his next victim. And Priest goes to pick up Drew and hit him with a reckoning, but Drew shoves him off, and the force of the shove causes Priest to bump into Gargano, and that knocks Gargano to the floor. And Priest is then laid out with a claymore. And Seth's like, God fucking damn it, AOP, get him. And they try, but Edge and Keith Lee get to their feet and they help Drew McIntyre fight them off, so they've actually got the numbers game against the Church of Rollins right now. AJ Styles, he's sort of just chilling in the background, like, watching everyone else fight. Like, I'm not getting involved in this, you can all fight him. Drew claymores Akam, Keith Spirit Bombs Razor, and then all 3 men corner Seth Rollins, including AJ Styles. No, not AJ Styles, sorry. Edge, Keith, and Drew. Yeah, okay. we're back on track now. And then Seth Rollins shouts, he's like, Johnny, get up, get up. And Johnny Gargano gets to his feet, he goes to help Damian Priest up. But as he turns around, he's laid up a phenomenal forearm. So every single other member of the Church of Rollins is down. He tries to escape through the middle rope, but Keith Lee grabs him by his belt, hoists him up for a spirit bomb. We're going to do the cool thing where the heel just gets annihilated and eats everybody's finisher. He takes the spirit bomb from Keith Lee, Edge spears him, AJ hits a springboard 450, and then Drew McIntyre backs into the corner. 3, 2, 1, countdown, Claymore to Seth, turned inside out, and he's picked up, and he's eliminated, and the crowd cheers. They erupt into cheers because, god damn it, this Rumble has been saved. Drew McIntyre celebrates his elimination of Seth Rollins, but then the common target has been eliminated. The All Four Men are now enemies of each other. A thing that Drew McIntyre may have forgotten, because he's dumped quickly out by AJ Styles from behind. That's when AJ starts acting all cocky, because he eliminated last year's Royal Rumble winner. He then puts the boots to Keith Lee and Edge, the final 3 in the Royal Rumble. The 3 men fight for a few minutes. AJ drops Edge with a phenomenal forearm, and then he goes for a springboard 450, but as he jumps, he hasn't actually hit the springboard, but he goes onto the apron, and then jumps onto the top rope as he's about to hit the 450. Keith Lee just snatches him off the top rope into onto gorilla press position and dumps him to the outside. So AJ Styles is out. Keith Lee collapses to the floor in exhaustion. He and Edge are the last 2 in the 2021 Royal Rumble match. The 2 men, they get to their feet and they stare at each other. Will it be the old guard, his final chance for glory? Or the new guard, his first chance for glory? And to bask in his glory, etc. They fight it out for a few more minutes. Both men, bordering on extinction many times, but no one getting eliminated. And then Edge charges at Keith Lee for a spear. He's scooped up onto his shoulders and eliminated. Keith Lee eliminates Edge, but the bell does not ring. Keith looks confused. He's like, why? I just won. Ring the bell. Is this a botch? But from behind, John Cena sneaks in. John Cena was never eliminated, and he hoists Keith Lee over the top rope. But Keith Lee skins the cat. John Cena celebrates thinking he's eliminated Keith Lee. But then he's like, well, okay, why aren't you ringing the bell for me? I did just win. Then he slowly turns to realise that Keith Lee was never eliminated. Keith Lee gives John Cena a big pounce, and Cena backs into the corner. Keith Lee charges into the corner, he splashes John Cena. He then gets him up onto his shoulders. But Cena slides behind Keith Lee. He tries to lift him over the top rope, but Keith Lee won't budge because he's a big, thick boy. Keith Lee then shoves John Cena to the floor, and Cena looks up in shock. He doesn't know what to do to the big man. He's tried all of his might. Mr. Hustle, all respect, has his back against the ropes. Not literally. Actually, maybe literally. Cena looks up in shock at Keith Lee as Keith Lee walks towards him, and then John Cena gets an idea. He wallops Keith Lee in the testes, and the crowd boos. Keith Lee's now in pain. He can't defend himself. Cena picks him up, and he dumps Keith Lee out of the ring to win the Royal Rumble. Big E boos his buttocks. That's very Big E of him. Again, I'm content with an 80 because I bought special sets and shit to try and make sure, because I expected the Rumble to bomb. 80 is actually not terrible. It's as good as Candice and Ruby versus Io and Kyrie. But again, this is a pay-per-view main event that's got Boogeyman, Oney Lorcan, Robert Stone. So an 80 is actually not that bad. And obviously I know who Funhouse Bray Wyatt as well. So I know who that is, because the actual Bray Wyatt character in the game is this one here. But yeah, that's actually not terrible. I don't expect it to hurt the show too much because we bought all the special set and stuff. But just in case it does, Kane, why is that such a funny screen to me? Kane in his mask telling me about Big E's booze barks. But just in case that wasn't a very good match, we do get the John Cena pointing at the sign segment, and him shouting about how he's doing all the kids proud and how C Nation runs wild. He made a history here tonight by becoming the second ever 3-time Royal Rumble winner. And the commentary line of the night that we're going to sign off with, John Cena breaks a record here tonight. Well, he ties a record, sorry. He ties Stone Cold Steve Austin for the most Royal Rumble victories, both with 3 now. And he currently co-holds the record for the most world title in WWE history. It writes itself that he now has the opportunity to go to WrestleMania and break it. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you on the road to WrestleMania. 87. See what good the buying the female Bobbies does? Yeah, that's pretty good. Road to WrestleMania is very much here. This is probably the longest video in the history of the channel. But what matters more than the 87 is what you thought of the show. What matters more than ever is what you thought of the show, because this has been a lot of hard work with all the fancy editing, but I have hopefully got it out on time. And I'll see you next time for episode 101. Oh, speaking of that, it's also time for me to give my soppy, oh, I love you all for watching 100 episodes of this shit. It's me playing a wrestling booking simulator, and I've got 100 episodes of it. That's good. And over 200 people are watching it. Yeah. So thank you, I guess. And well, here's to another 100. That's the cool phrase to say, right? And now that path to 200 will begin the same day that the road to WrestleMania really begins. Episode 101, Monday Night Raw, next time. And hopefully I haven't scared you off by giving John Cena a Royal Rumble victory. So hopefully I'll still see you then.